I'm here to protect musicians. I'm here to fight for musicians. I was following the law. Really, it was not about, it was absolutely not about faith. What relationships?
Really?
It's not a love affair. I'm here to work for them. So my role as a regulator was not to be popular.
Yeah.
And I have no regrets.
You have no regrets.
There are 3 E's that I believe contribute to greatness: education, experience, and exposure.
Yeah.
And I pursue those ones.
Yeah.
It's to focus on the right thing. The right thing right now is to ensure that broadcasters pay, that Safaricom pays for Skiza tunes.
Asante sana daktari for joining us today.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Karibu sana to Who Owns Kenya.
Hii kwanza. Oh, you own Kenya?
You own Kenya.
Who owns Kenya? Who actually does?
You own Kenya.
Yeah, we own Kenya.
Kenya
Okay.
is ours.
Hey, so I also own Kenya.
You also own Kenya.
Very good.
So karibu sana. Maybe you can start us off by telling us a bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and your background basically.
I grew up in Ukambani.
Yeah.
A place called Mwala in Machakos County.
Yes.
I don't give my age anymore. Now I'm aging gracefully, so but 50 or so years ago.
Okay.
And I went to a local school in the village called Ikumini. Later on moved to a school in Kangundo called Popular High School. Okay. Then at some point transferred back to my home area, Mwala Secondary School. Then later on, I went to Tala High School for my Form 6 and for my A levels, Form 5 and 6, and Kenyatta University for my undergraduate. Okay. I took about 15 years before I did my masters. Between my first degree and my masters, I took some while. Okay. I was working. I could not disconnect. The opportunities that were coming were taking me out of the country. And I was quite determined to support my siblings and my parents. Yeah. So it took some time to settle. I was more focused on settling down at work. Yes. But within that time, I did a lot of courses there. I got a job with the Nation Media Group as a journalist. And I honed my skills as a journalist by undertaking courses in journalism at USIU, locally, abroad, some online, and so on. And so I did from 1994 to 2002. I rose through the ranks in the Nation from a trainee reporter to an editor. Okay. And then in 2002, journalists showed faith in me by electing me the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Journalists, where I worked for between 2002 and 2007, when I became Director of Information and Public Communications. Okay. And then 2011, I became Secretary of Information for this country. And then I worked as Secretary of Information until 2015, when I became the CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, where I was regulating content and protecting children from exposure to harmful content by ensuring that we had the right content on TV. I did 6 years there, and last year I finished my tour of duty. And this year in April, I became CEO of the Music Corporate Society of Kenya, MCSK, where I am now.
What a career. What an illustrious career.
Yes, but just to take you back so that there is we don't lose the education aspect. Yes. So like I told you, between my undergraduate in Kenyatta University, where I did sociology and linguistics, to my masters, there is 15 years. I told you the reasons. Later on, when I went for my masters, I had just become Director of Information. Yeah. So even though in Kenyatta University I did sociology and linguistics, and now I wanted to specialize in the area that was relevant to my work. Yeah. And so I went to the University of Nairobi for my master's degree in communication studies, and later on to Moi University for my PhD in communication studies. Okay. So my experience and my education, I think it's unrivaled. Yeah. Because I've done about 22 years in active practice, and I pursued masters and PhD in the same field. I have been a director of many state parastatals Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC, for 5 years. Brand Kenya Board, I started it actually. Vision 20, that Secretariat, Kenya Corporate Board, Media Council of Kenya. I have been in about 5 or so state parastatals. Now I am here trying to help musicians. So that is my journey.
Well, so this is a career spanning about what years?
Between 1994 and today. That will give you how many years?
That will be about 28 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And Daktari, we have seen an upward trajectory in your career. It's always been from one level to another level. What qualities would you say have helped you to, achieve everything you have in such a short period of time?
I think hard work, integrity, believing in myself, and above all, believing that my destiny is shaped by God himself. All of us have a purpose, and I've never doubted for a moment, despite their humble backgrounds and the challenges that I faced as a child. I think every day I see miracles, and all through my life God has been faithful to the point where I have no doubt in my mind that I have a purpose, and I am very clear about that purpose, which is to impact lives in whatever sphere I'm given. I believe I am God's ambassador in the marketplace, to bring integrity, hard work, to promote justice and fairness in the areas where I go, to grow them, impact people. Everywhere I've been, I've created an ecosystem that enables people to enjoy fairness, to enjoy their rights as workers or as stakeholders. And I think while doing it, I've been also very firm, because I believe moral values are important in shaping the future of a nation. And particularly in this era of social media, you can get lost in the bombardment of information. Too much technology access, too much information can also become dangerous, particularly in this era of fake news and there's so many Android devices and so many things coming on our TV and so on. I think my purpose is to clean the airwaves. My purpose is to not just clean by wielding a big stick. I did that for 6 years when I was at KFCB. I'm so grateful to God that I have now an opportunity to do it from a development perspective, by supporting musicians, by encouraging the creators of content to create the right content that will sell, make them rich, give them money, but at the same time create the right content that are standard, that is rooted in our values, in our culture, so that music becomes a vehicle for promoting our cultural values. I don't believe music is to destroy values. Music is not there to destroy culture. Content should be able to promote people's values, bring their stories, talk about their lives, and give them hope, inspire confidence and hope for a future. I believe that's the purpose of music. And now, this side of the divide where I am, I'm not a regulator, I'm now a developer, I'm now a promoter, I'm now fighting for the rights of musicians. I found a sorry state, a music that is that has gone to the dogs, an industry that has been deprived of its rights. Musicians have suffered, most of them are in depression, they live in the glory of performing in public and the fame and the celebrity status, but I think there isn't much to show for that for their status in terms of money. So what I've been doing since April is to try and structure the industry in a way that it can give back to the musicians, in a way that there can be structures that will ensure there is no piracy, structures that will ensure that users of copyrighted musical works pay for it, and those values, commitment to ensure justice, are guiding me up to now. So I tend to think it is something, not I wouldn't say inborn. I've shaped it over time. I try to empower myself. I try to read, I try to go to school, I try to take courses. I think I've done all the courses there is to do in this area of communication. Now I'm dealing more into technology and leadership to ensure that in the position that God has given me, I'm the best. or at least I'm doing my best. And you're not doing your best out of ignorance and out of just chance. You're doing it out of conviction, but you're also doing it out of understanding. And that's why it's important to go to school. That's why it's important to understand other models. I like traveling. I like interacting with people. I just came from Harare for World Intellectual Property Organization conference on copyright and related right. In fact, the theme of that conference was shaping the landscape for copyright and related rights in Africa. And interacting with people, diverse people from Geneva, from all over the world, and getting to know that is what I like doing every day. And it gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of enrichment. You know, you walk with confidence knowing that your worldview is not weird, it's not twisted, it's not based on village mentality. It is informed by interactions, it is informed by experience. There are 3 E's that I believe contribute to greatness: education, experience, and exposure. And I pursue those ones. Those ones inform me. Education, experience, and exposure. Exposure, opening your world view by reading, by watching things, by reading about other people, by reading about the sector that you're involved in, to understand how it functions. And I think that is those are the values that have guided me so far to where I am. But above all, I'm a firm believer. I'm a Christian. I uphold. I believe in prayer. I believe in faith, having faith in God, even when things are difficult, that there will be a better tomorrow. I am like Obama, the audacity of hope. Even in the midst of uncertainties, when the chips are down, when the odds are stuck against you, that there is a better tomorrow. That the darkest hour in the night of the night comes just before dawn. And I preach that, I believe it, I live it, and I think those are the values that have brought me to where I am so far.
Oh, wonderful. And Dr. you speak so passionately about, you know, good morals and education. And back at KFCB, you know, you were known for, you know, all these opinions about raunchy videos. Some films were even banned, and this was met by a lot of, you know, a lot of people did not align with your vision at the time. So when you talk about morals and religion and Christianity, how much do you think is too much? And at what point do you say this is too much, and what is allowable according to you? And now that you're in MCSK, will we see you do the same thing about music videos, or will that change? Or have you changed your perception?
I think I've just clarified that there I was a regulator. The work of a regulator is not to be popular. It's not to, you know, is to do what is right in line with the law. And I think the role required not only to apply the Constitution and the law, but also to create a national conversation. I'm going to KFCB after having served as Director of Information in the Ministry of ICT and also as Secretary of Information. And so I was involved in the digital migration. And I had done a lot of reading and traveled all over the world. I served as a member of the UN Secretary General's Committee on Information in New York. And I was the Vice Chair of UNESCO's Committee on Information in Paris. I had a global worldview about digital migration and the benefits, the dividends of digital migration, but also the dangers that would come with it, particularly in respect to our children and what it can do to destroy children. It's a double-edged sword. And so when I moved to KFCB, I moved with that understanding to try and create safety nets for our children. It was not about my faith or about Christianity. It was about the law. It was about a passion to do the right thing and a commitment to protect children from exposure to harmful content. So we applied the law. By the way, if you look at all the cases that we took to court, the one on LGBTQ film called Rafiki, we won. Okay. I went against Kenya breweries. I was telling them, don't advertise beer during the watershed. Those adverts should come after 10. They are actually, when I wrote to them, they are the ones who took us to court through the Commission of Advertisers or something called ABAC, and we won. We also won that one. All those cases.
So everything was in accordance with the law.
They went to Court of Appeal while I was out of KFCB last month. That case, again, KFCB won. I started it. They went to Court of Appeal. I put a defense. And we won again. So I was following the law. Really, it was not about... It was absolutely not about faith.
It wasn't something about you.
It was about applying the law. It was about looking at the wider good. It was about leadership. It was about protecting children. And I think when it comes to applying the law, the work of a regulator is like that of a policeman, a traffic policeman. You stop the vehicles not to inconvenience motorists, but to ensure that there is smooth flow of traffic. If the traffic police does not do that, then people or careless drivers will endanger the lives of others. So regulation is not about control or oppressing people. And I created conversations. I took this conversation to the parents. I took this conversation to the religious leaders. I talked to different institutions, including institutions of learning, and it became a national conversation. I'm not there right now, but that conversation goes on. So it was not about me. I think my success is actually based on the fact that we created a national conversation on morality. And the question we were asking is there bad content in the media, on TV and on radio? And everybody would say yes. We commissioned a survey. And we got 87% approval. Just before we started the campaign now, and the vetting, you know, of this kind of content, we based it on research. And we got 87% parents saying they are concerned about what their children are watching. And there's need for the government to do something. Not to control, not to ban, but to ensure that we put in strict mechanisms to protect children from exposure to harmful content. And another goal, which was to ensure that films and broadcast content promote Kenya's culture, national values and aspirations. That's what happens in other countries. And you can't just allow the culture of anything goes, because one of the critical areas we were looking at in film regulation was the classifiable elements in a film. Things like bad language or foul language, stuff like obscenity. I know that could be said to be subjective nudity, subjective again, but in context. In context, we regulate, we used to rate in context. Things like violence. And if you remember in 2020, or is it 2021, January, actually, there's a young man in Kiambu who almost killed his entire family. And he said he was influenced by a film called Killing Eve, which he watched on Google or somewhere on YouTube. The thing is, violent content makes children violent as well. If you watch too much violence, if you watch too much depressing stories, there's you are likely, there's a likelihood that you're going to be influenced. Films are powerful. Music is powerful. There's something they do to our emotions, and the continuous watching of bad content influences your behavior, particularly children. The impressionable minds that are still growing. They tend to think what they watch is the real thing. That it's cool to walk naked. It's cool to use bad language. It's cool to be violent because it's being glorified on TV. So those are the things we are contending with. Where do you create the balance to ensure that while people are enjoying freedom of expression, they do not also allow cultures that go completely against the well-being of our society, because we have a society to protect. We have our own values. So my role as a regulator was not to be popular, and I have no regrets.
You have no regrets.
But here, I'm not a regulator. KFCB is still there. Here, I'm here to protect musicians. I'm here to fight for musicians. Here, if you look at where I'm doing right now, Minister Babna Mamba, upon his appointment, I was among the first people that he met on Friday. He was sworn in on Thursday. His first day in office was on Friday. And I was in his office until past 8 in the evening. We discussed at length the situation and the status of the music industry in Kenya. That's what a CEO does. That's what a serious leader does. Day one. There are people who would not even know how to approach him.
That's true.
There are people who may not even know that the government matters. There are people who might be, just doing their own stories.
Yeah.
But I went there to tell him we have to work with the government. The government has to support us to collect money from users of copyrighted musical works and distribute. How do we go about it? What mechanics do we need to put in place? How do we need to secure that environment that will encourage compliance, but also will ensure integrity in the distribution?
Okay.
And yesterday again, I was there for 3 hours. Day two in his office, of the minister being in office, again and 3 hours. And this time I went with every other stakeholder that matters.
Okay.
Kenya Copyright Board, the other CMOs.
Camp,
Camp and Prisk and so on. So I believe I'm a serious leader who knows what is good for the industry.
Yes.
And the problem is we have so many shenanigans. Right now, I'm sure the minister is listening to all manner of trash. People are just pushing their own personal agenda. Who don't care. They could even be pushing for another CMO to be registered. People are myopic.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
One of the challenges with this country is that we are very petty people. And then every government that comes to power tends to be swamped by those voices. So if you don't push hard, and I'm not pushing because I must worship anybody or I must kneel before anybody. No, I will never worship an individual, not the president, not the minister. I will tell the story. If they don't buy it, it's not life and death. It's their loss, not mine. But it pains me that we have a situation where the right people doing the right thing take so much time or are treated with suspicion. And then you find people wasting time with crooks. With people with no agenda, no background. I have a history of success. I have a history of integrity. I was the school captain of every school I went and the civic chairman.
You are born a leader.
I may not be the best, I'm not blowing my trumpet, but I always tend to think, if we're looking for leadership in this industry, we got it. We got it.
Okay.
It's people to choose what they want, but it's something I'll push.
Okay.
I don't give up. It's something I'll push. It's something I'll fight for. This story must be told.
Okay.
We must save musicians.
Okay.
And the way to save musicians is not to listen to shenanigans out there. It's to focus on the right thing. The right thing right now is to ensure that broadcasters pay, that Safaricom pays for Skiza tunes, anybody, including KQ. If you are playing music on those planes, you pay. They pay. Every other plane pays. Airline, they pay. They pay so that we get money for musicians. It does not just come from the trees. And you see people focus so much on distribution, and they forget you can't distribute what you have not collected.
That's true.
So what we should be focusing on right now with the new government is how do we collect more? Because if we collect more, it's
You'll
very
pay more.
we pay more. Definitely. I was telling the minister, focus on collecting 1 billion and we'll distribute in line with global best practices. We'll distribute 70%. That is 700 million.
Just for artists.
It has never been seen for musicians.
Okay.
It is money they have never received. You'll see people getting checks of 5 million, 2 million, 3 million. And we want to do this by December, by the way, if they support what I'm saying.
Okay.
If they want to listen to all manner of gossip in the street, it will take time. Because I can't control what story someone has to listen, but I've given mine. And I'm very happy that I'm so grateful that the minister gave us time. The minister gave us a commitment. He said he will support this.
Okay.
He said, first, I will ensure that we regularize the issues of licenses from Kenya Copyright Board. We will also get the users of music to pay. And then we'll move to ensure that we safeguard the integrity of distribution so that we also don't collect money and it goes into people's pockets.
Okay.
Doing that on week 1 after the new government, after the minister has been sworn in, I tend to think that speaks about the integrity.
So you're confident about the relationship between the MCSK and the government?
Absolutely, to the extent that the minister gave us an opportunity on his first day in office, and then yesterday was his second day, and again we were there.
Yes.
This is the best I've ever seen.
Okay.
a listening minister, a government that is willing to get the correct version.
Yes.
A government that is willing to work with the industry. I've been in government for a long time.
Okay.
And you see people come and the first days they are just partying.
Okay.
They are
so
not
the fact
working,
that he's even engaging.
Day one we stayed in office until almost 9.
Okay.
I have been in government for a long time. I've never seen that. Day one people are just doing parties and they celebrating. Yeah, not even that drinking, they're just drinking with buddies. Yeah, they're just drinking with buddies. I've been in government for long.
Okay.
I can tell you.
And
if we don't get it right with the Honorable Namwamba, I doubt we will ever sort it out. Then we better close shop.
But
the fact that he opens his doors,
right?
it's wait and see. It's wait and see, like I've told you. He's surrounded by all manner of people.
Yes.
He's listening to all manner of people. But we have also, as leaders, and we are stakeholders. And you see that at the end of the day, you have to get all this and then you find where is the truth in all this and then what is the best way.
Okay.
I think the fact that he's listening to these stakeholders and giving them time to tell their story, the fact that he's embracing all of them, and he has made public pronouncements about his commitment to ensure that we right the wrongs that have been committed. I think for me it is music to my ears.
Okay.
So yes, good. Early days, wait and see. But
you're optimistic.
I think we need to give credit where it is due.
Yeah.
Those early days, those that this first week in his office, in office, I think he has done very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, when you joined MCSK, a lot of artists, you know, they were not very pleased by that appointment. You know, some of them had very mean comments about it. And, you know, as the CEO right now, one of your responsibilities, you know, I reckon will be to create a good relationship between you and the people you serve, which is the musicians.
This is not a love affair. It's not a love affair.
You're not trying to, like, mend the relationship?
What relationship?
Really?
It's not a love affair. I'm here to work for them. Some of them are those comments. They are comments that are based on ignorance, and the ignorance in this industry is actually the problem. Someone sings a song, and they feel they are so important, they are so famous. They
but
don't
then
study.
you're speaking about musicians or members of the society you serve.
Yeah, run this. They got to learn. If you want to invest in an industry and be taken seriously, if you want to be taken as a professional, you must understand the laws governing that area.
Okay.
So like those comments you are saying, they're not worthy mentioning. Because if somebody says which music as Dr. Mutua sang, there was an advert in the paper. I didn't say I must produce music. It was looking for a CEO. We don't staff, the CEO and the staff do not have to be musicians. Okay. So when you see someone, a so-called famous musician, making those comments, they are not even worthy. I can't dignify them with a response. Okay. Because the CEO and the staff don't have to be musicians.
So you have nothing to say to them.
If you advertise for a job and you want a musician, say so. If you say you want master's degree and the competence in this, so can we discuss irrelevance like that? It's a comment that is unfortunate. But you see, I told you, those are the shenanigans that go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you a family man yourself?
Yes, I'm married. I'm married with 2 children.
With children.
2 wonderful boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, when you got this job, you said you were actually overqualified for the job. What kind of legacy do you want to leave at MCSK?
I want to see musicians reaping from the sweat of their brow. They must make money from their music. We must, as a collective management organization, do everything possible to serve them with integrity. And to do so, you got to ignore a lot of noise. And focus on the ball. And I think focusing on the ball means focusing on collection and distribution. Focusing on streamlining the management structures. Focusing on deploying technology to raise more money for musicians. That is my goal. And when I joined, I said I'll make Kenyan musicians billionaires. That remains my goal.
So who should hold you accountable?
They're my members. I mean, I am employed by Music Corporate Society of Kenya. We have 15,000 members. They have their own structures to review how we are doing. And but remember, we can't do it alone. We need the support of government.
That's true.
We need the musicians themselves to support us. And so that's why I'm very excited about the new minister, because he seems to know the need for collaboration and engagement. They need to support this for their own benefit, so that we can collect and distribute. I think I am accountable to my own conscience, to my own values, because I'm committed to ensure that I leave a legacy. And I've never failed in the past. I have held other senior positions in government institutions, in the private sector, and I've never failed.
So you have a good track record?
A very good track record, and I think that's a track record that would enable me not to want to do anything less.
Okay.
I am a legacy person. I am known to leave a legacy that is lasting. I'm going to leave a legacy in MCSK.
Asante sana. And we leave it at that.
Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Thank you so much for giving us this.
Karibu, karibu.
Thank you.
Yes.